Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/The Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip. All right, so let's get to the first match. The entire knockout division in one match, outside of Jordan Grace, and of course Ash by Botox, which is funny because she's supposed to come out for this match, and she said she couldn't be there because she got lip filler put in. So I don't know if they're watching my show, but that is hilarious, and kudos to you, sirs. Kudos to you, Ash. Which I think this character is really good. I don't think it's a character that works in the ring so much, but I think is like kind of an ancillary comedy character on the show. I think it works. And I like George Iceman. So speaking of George Iceman, he comes out and the microphone is not connected to the system. So you're hearing it through the camera mics over the PA. It wasn't connected to the main system. Now, it wasn't like that the rest of the show. So, but you couldn't hear or make out what he was saying. They should have cut that part. They should have just cut it out and had him cut a promo backstage explaining what was happening. And then you just see them at ringside. You just couldn't understand what they were saying. We needed fucking subtitles. So embarrassing. But I think George Iceman's great. But anyway, we go to the 841 match. We get the big return of Steph DeLander. So Steph DeLander, Zaya Brookside. So 841 is where it's like an 8-man tag or 8 knockouts tag, whatever you want to call it. And then the winning team of that match will then go to a 4-way match, and then the winner of the 4-way match gets a number 1 contenders match. I don't like this gimmick. I can't honestly. I think it's stupid. Some people like it. I personally don't like it, and I didn't think that this match was particularly very good. I felt like it was a little clunky, but I liked the angle at the end. So Steph DeLander, Zaya Brookside, and Dani Luna and Rosemary, they win the knockouts tag portion of the match. And then Steph DeLander ends up beating Brooks side, Dani Luna and Rosemary to win the 841 match. So I dug the angle because, Steph DeLander, they have some continuity with the indie character because she was able to win because, Matt Cardona came through the crowd and hit the radio silence on Rosemary to help DeLander get the victory. And now we have Matt Cardona. So like that's the big, that was a big story from last week's episode of Brace for Impact was Matt Cardona's return to the company along with Steph DeLander. Immediately afterwards, Matt Cardona made sure to tell Sean Ross Sapp that he is still a free agent. So, but if they're going to continue to bring Cardona in, I think this is a win. Unfortunately, I think Cardona should be more another guy that should be at the top of the card and kind of taking like a serious contender. But instead, it looks like he is just coming in as the valet at this point for Steph DeLander. We'll see what he's going to be doing at Rebellion, but he might just be like seconding DeLander, which in that case, I guess that's fine. But I think it's mostly a waste of Cardona. The match was not very good, but I like the angle at the end, and I thought Cardona got a lot of heat. Cardona, he peaked 2 years ago with his character, but I still think there's some juice left, and they could probably get something out of him if he's able to stick around for a while. So that was good stuff. Match not good, but angle good. Okay, in the parking lot, Chris Sabin and Steve Maclin argue, and so actually Maclin was arguing with the Rascals, and they kind of broke up their triumvirate. And then as he's walking away, he bumps into Sabin. So they did the whole, hey, you bumped into me, now we must wrestle, and so that was made. So if I didn't like the two wrestlers so much, I would not have cared one bit about this match because that is the dumbest way to set up a match. Oh, you bumped into me? Well, maybe we should wrestle about it. Like, people don't do that anymore. They're so lazy. It's like, you guys aren't even trying. Like, I'd rather them just say, just have a match than like, I don't at that point, if the story's going to be bad, I don't need the story. Just make the match. Match was great, but just make the match. And then so Sabin says he'll be the man about it and go to Santino to make a match because they bumped into each other, of course. Shelley then met with Sabin and Kushida in his finest real Double J Jesse James shirt. While that was from Jeremy Peoples. While Sabin completed the issues they're all having together. So they're still working the Shelley going heel and the breakup of the Guns, even though the Guns are very much a team and they are leaving the company. They have decided not to break up the continuity and keep the storyline going. And then we go to Ace Austin and Chris Bay. They chatted about Jake something winning, and Austin is upset at Bay for being even in the match from last week. It's not a matter about him talent enough, but they need to focus on the tag team titles. And then at one point during that promo, which I don't think Jeremy was able to capture, Chris Bay said, well, what about you fighting Frankie? And Austin's like, well, Frankie disrespected us. I felt the need to stand up for us. So Bay's like, well, you don't think I can stand up for us? And Ace is like, well, I never said that. So Ace is like, well, fine, I'm going to go challenge Frankie to a match. And so he went and challenged Frankie to a match later in the show. And then Zach Gibson complained about Cody Deaner costing them their match last week. And Deaner came out and said that Santino gave him the chance to pick his opponent today. And then, of course, he comes and he's doing the fans get to pick what I do. It's very cheesy. I don't think he's going to get it over, but it is what it is. This is what Deaner's doing now. And he said, Gibson said that he was traveling through the city and saw nothing but mutants. Well, he's in Philadelphia, so that makes sense. But Deaner likes his mutants and told the fans of which loudmouth prick he should beat up. And they said he slugged so they picked both, basically. So it's a handicap match. He slugged Gibson before grappling around with James Drake. Hannafin argues with Matt Raywall, said, shut up, you stupid Chicago bald man. The Grizzly Young Vets then beat the shit out of Deaner. They hit him with the grit your teeth for the victory. Then Gia Miller chatted with Nick Nemeth about facing Moose or Rebellion. He talked about facing Moose before Shelley interrupted him and blamed Kushida for throwing the towel in and costing him the title. Nemeth then challenged Shelley to a match, and Shelley wanted a date for it, but Nemeth wouldn't give him one. So here's what happened. Jeremy didn't get this part of it. So, but thankfully I remember what happened. So, Shelley did interrupt him, and Nemeth was like, hey, I'm a big fan. After I win the title, I want you to be my first challenger. And then so Shelley's like, well, we don't have to wait till after Rebellion. We can just wrestle right now. We can wrestle next week. And so then they made the match for next week. Okay, so Josh Alexander walked out for promo in his full gear. He said, looking for a fight. He calls out Hammerstone. Here's the problem with this thing. So not only was the production really bad on this, at one point, they were locked in on their boom camera that was just filming Alexander from behind for an extraordinary amount of time. It's almost like the director, whoever is calling the shots, right? Because you have to do the camera cut like manually. He didn't cut. He just stuck. Like we should be able to see his face, but instead, like Alexander's looking away from the camera the entire time. It was like super awkward. So I hate to call for a guy to get fired, but this was bad. Like, and Alexander's a good promo, so it wasn't the content of the promo. I thought the content was very good, but it just looked so bad. Like you're just filming his back the whole time. It was weird. So, but anyway, he calls out Hammerstone. Hammerstone never comes out, and then all of a sudden, here comes Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. Now, Hot Sauce, I'll be honest, when I found out this match was happening, I had no idea who this guy was. And I have seen several Ring of Honor pay-per-views and episodes. I don't remember this guy one bit. Now, I will admit, I am not the biggest Ring of Honor fan. Not that I had anything against it, but I felt like the stuff that I'm complaining about with TNA, I had those same complaints about Ring of Honor, except Ring of Honor was worse, and I just couldn't watch it. The production issues. But I did try to catch a lot of their pay-per-views and stuff like that. So I don't remember this guy at all. So I'll be honest, I think this might have been like my first time seeing him in an match that I actually paid attention to. And I gotta say, he's very good. He's a very good wrestler. I think he's from Philly. I don't know if he's sticking around. This might just be heel of the week. Well, he wasn't even heel. It was like Josh opponent of the week. He just happened to be a local guy they brought in. But I thought this was a very good match. And some people were complaining that maybe Josh gave him a little bit too much. Look, Josh Alexander has Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay complex. He wants to have a great match every time. He doesn't want to just kick people's asses. So he's going to sell for his opponent no matter who it is. That's why he had a really good match with Dango weeks ago, right? That's just the way he does it. Doesn't matter who the guy, like, except for like he did, just beat Oleg pretty quick, but Oleg just couldn't go. Like, I don't think physically Oleg could have a full match. So they just did it quickly and Oleg's out of the company. But for the most part, if they're going to put somebody there with Josh, no matter what their stature is, he's probably going to try to have the best match that he can with that person. Right. And I thought this match was awesome. And, Josh got the C4 spike. And then this is from Jeremy Peoples. And I think Jeremy's a big Ring of Honor fan. So he said this was one of the best matches on TNA or pay-per-view all year. Tracy Williams shines so brightly here as well. The fans chanted both these guys and they shake hands. Yeah, I really did like the match. I really did. I thought it was very good. So they shake hands. And they do the whole arm raise. They do the Ring of Honor stuff. And then Hammerstone jumped them from behind with a lariat, sends Alexander outside before elbowing Williams in the head. And then Hammerstone put Josh Alexander's headgear on Williams and then put him in the torture rack. Fuck yes. The torture rack is back. I am an old school Lex Luger fan. And I don't care that this is blatantly stealing from Lex. You steal from the best. Lex rules. And I like the fact that he's using the torture rack again. It's been more than, I think Will Hobbs is using it too, but it's been time to bring that move back. And I like the fact that he's putting the headgear on guys and then putting it on them. And he, according to like the sport, he does that a couple more times to different people, but this was great. I love it. I love the match is awesome. Post-match angle is awesome. Hammerstone rules. And I'm very much looking forward to Hammerstone versus Josh Alexander Rebellion. I think it's the last man standing match. I think this gets announced later, so spoiler. Then TNA hypes up Ali being on the cover of PWI. Do they even sell PWI like the mag? Like, I know it's online, but do they actually sell the physical magazine anymore? I don't know. I've not seen one in a long time. But I used to buy them when I was a kid. And then backstage, Santino meets Ali in a very WWE-like office with the magazine cover behind him, and Ali tells him that Jake something isn't fit for the X. I love this, by the way. Says Jake something isn't fit for the X division. Santino says there are no limits in the division, and Samoa Joe proved that. While Ali doesn't trust him due to his name. And then he says Rhino is also a dumb name, which I agree. And then before Santino freaks out and Ali guesses that he's behind him and praises Mr. Rhinoceros, Rhino wants a non-title old school rules match next week, and then Santino makes the match. So, old school rules. It's a street fight. That's not old school. That is modern day. That's it. So you don't get to call it old school rules. I know they're trying to say like ECW rules, like they're trying not to say ECW, but you don't get to call it old school because street fights happen on every episode. There are 3 promotions, and there are every single night of the week in prime time, excluding Sunday night. There is a wrestling television show, and at least 1 or 2 of those shows will have a street fight. That's all this is. It is not old school. If you want to call it old school rules, then it needs to be best 2 out of 3 falls. You should get DQ'd if you throw your opponent over the top rope to the floor. And you should also get DQ'd if you come off the top rope and try to hit a move from off the top rope. That is old school. This is not old school, you fucking clown. I'm talking to you, Dreamer. I know you're the one that says this. Old school rules, because they're trying to reference ECW there in Philly. I get it. But this is not old school. It's just not. Eddie Edwards defeated Speedball Mike Bailey in another great match. So I'm telling you, like, the wrestling on this show is fucking great. This is one of the best episodes of the year. It really was. The system gets involved, and at one point Trent Seven gets involved. But the TNA YouTube clip of this match, I have not seen that version of it. So I hope that they did some post-production on it, because during this, like, the video quality was also not very good. So hopefully they were able to post-produce it and make it look better for the clip. But if they did, I think this is well worth going out of your way to see. Same with the Josh Alexander match. If they end up clipping that, I have not seen that they have done that yet. They might get to that later, but I thought it was pretty damn awesome. Speedball goes for ultimate weapon, misses thanks to Alicia, and then Eddie hits the Boston knee party to the back of the head to get the victory. So really, really good stuff. And then PCO ranted for Khan and a Monsters Ball match somewhere. And then the full-blooded Italians are hyped for next week. Frankie Kazarian quotes the Bible to reinforce that EY sees himself as the hero and Kaz is wicked, and he may be. But Full Metal Mayhem doesn't do a favor for EY. It favors Kazarian because he is more violent. He says he's the king of TNA. And Chris Bay says, this isn't a water park. You can't let slide, but he wants a match with him next week. That is a lot to recap in a small amount of time, but they had a lot going on during that those back-to-back segments. Full-blooded Italians make a return. It looks like Guido is back, and he is bringing back 2 new guys to be full-blooded Italians tag team. I think they might just be there for the Philadelphia thing, but if they get over, maybe they keep them around for a while. We obviously have new openings in the tag division. And then Rich Swann's heel turn his recap before he and AJ Francis come down and talk. And they get a ton of heat here. And they have dubbed themselves First Class. And then Francis says he hasn't been this happy since he played for the Giants, and the Giants beat the hell out of the Eagles, and that got a ton of heat. But I clapped. I clapped when he said that. And then Swan said he was dealing with a losing streak, and Francis took him from being on top to them being even higher. He was going to snap the losing streak, but Joe Hendry blind tagged himself in and cost him his first win in months. And then Hendry wanted him to sing and dance. He was upset, but AJ Francis was there for him no matter how many times he told him he was world champion and there was no one there, which means he didn't need any of these people. And TNA AJ Francis is money with Rich Homie Swan. So I kind of like this team. I dig it. And then Tom Hannafin has like a sit-down interview with Laredo Kid about his life. They're trying hard to make us care about Laredo Kid. The problem is Laredo Kid's maybe won 3 matches in like 4 years. So I get that they're trying, and it's okay to try. Unfortunately, you guys have tanked this dude's career. He's very good, and you guys have destroyed him. And I wish he would just stand up for himself and say no to all the shit you make him do. But Laredo Kid's very good, and he has tanked his career in TNA, unfortunately. At one point, like he was like headlining AEW shows, like in trios matches and stuff. And then he's just been stuck losing on a losing streak since like for like 4 years, I think. Like, it's been a long time. Like this guy they don't give him any wins. Steve Maclin defeated Chris Sabin in a great main event, and I agree. And the picture quality was perfect in this match. Picture quality, like the color settings, audio, everything about it was great. Maclin and Sabin they really work well together. So I'm sad to see Sabin go. But look, the fact that Maclin won here, TNA likes to beat people on their way out. If both guys were leaving, I think maybe Maclin would have not been in this match, and they would have just put somebody in that was going to beat Sabin to get something off of it. If they're sticking around, I think maybe Maclin might be sticking around. And if that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and take partial credit for that because I have been bullying TNA to keep Maclin here. So go ahead and tweet at me that I made this happen if and when the graphic comes out that he has re-signed. If he hasn't re-signed, the rumor is that he got offered a per date deal, but maybe he's just sticking around on a per date like later. But I think Maclin is like a guy that you can build the company around. I've been saying that forever. I went on a whole rant. I don't want to go on another rant, but he gets the win here, and look, he looks good in another match he has at the Philly taping. So I don't know what he has going on at Rebellion, so hopefully they have something for him. But it looks like maybe Maclin sticks around, or maybe they just didn't really think it through, and they're just giving him a big win. But let's go to the end here. A count out is teased, but Maclin got it at 9 before Satellite DDT. So he went for the Scud, which was a cool. He went for the Scud missile dive, and then he missed it, which that was like a cool visual. And then they tease the count out. Maclin gets in at 9 before Satellite DDT hit for 2 on the Maclin. Maclin turned a jackknife pin into the KIA Death Rider, and then he wins it. Another excellent match, and honestly, I another one that you need to go out of your way to see. So this match, the Hot Sauce versus Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards versus Speedball, like those 3 matches were fucking great. This is one of my favorite episodes of the year. Production issues aside, I think everybody should go out of the way to check it out. Just good stuff. I think as far as like matches and storytelling and just like TV shows, I think TNA really is on a roll right now. It's just so unfortunate that the show looks like the way it does.